All right, in our last kind of unit lecture, we talked about how your body accesses stored energy. We're going to talk now about how that stored energy gets into the food chain or food web, and that's the process of photosynthesis. Make sure that you go into the file that has this PowerPoint and you watch all of these hyperlinked videos. I'd show them now, and normally I would show them in class, but if I put it on now and then put this on YouTube, I'll get copyright striked, and that doesn't do any of us any good. So you do need to take the time to go back and watch these little video clips. First thing you need to know is that the energy is coming to the plants in the form of light. Light is traveling to your eyes and to the plants and to the ground and to the earth in waves. And each wave has a different associated energy level and a different color. So when you look at the different colors of light, those colors represent different energies. And your plant is going to absorb each color a little differently in order to harness that energy. So white light, when you see it, like the white that's probably in your room right now, is a combination of all of those different wavelengths, of all of the different colors. Black is the absence of color. And when you see a color, you are seeing the color that is actually being reflected to your eye. So if I look at my tabletop right now, I'm at school, it's a black tabletop. All that means is that all of the colors are being absorbed by that tabletop and none of the colors are being reflected back at my eye. So it appears black. Today I've got on a maroon shirt. What that means is that all of the colors of the white light are being absorbed by my maroon shirt and the color maroon is being reflected back. Well, what does that mean for your plants? Well, a plant appears green because it reflects green back to your eyes. Plants are going to use these different pigments to harvest the energy by attracting specific wavelengths of light, and they're going to do that with chemicals, and the main chemical is chlorophyll. There are two forms of chlorophyll, chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B, and they absorb a little bit different on that spectrum, a little bit different wavelength of light. This is going to absorb the blue, green, and red wavelengths, and it's going to reflect back to your eye green, which is why your plant appears green. Plants also have accessory pigments that allow them to kind of broaden the amount of energy that they're taking in. When you see the leaves change colors, it's because the chlorophyll is starting to die off and you're left with these accessory pigments, which were always there, but now they become more prominent. If you've never done the prism experiment, or now it's really trendy to have like a crystal that you hang in your window, it's going to take the white and split it into all of the different wavelengths, and then it makes like a rainbow in your room. The chloroplast is the organelle that's going to do the photosynthesis for us. It's sac-like, it has a membrane. It's one of the things that defines it as a eukaryotic cell, is this sac that has its own membrane and then has membranes even inside it. These membranes are called thylakoids. The stacks of thylakoids are called grana, and inside the thylakoids is chlorophyll, and it's organized into two photosystems, photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. And just to mess with you, these were named in order of discovery, not in order of use. Only the light-dependent reaction occurs within the thylakoid. So plants are able to transform the energy of the sun to make energy for plants to grow and reproduce. And then the heterotrophs come in and benefit from that by eating those plants and getting that stored sugar. The leaves of the plant use chlorophyll to attract the certain wavelengths of light. So this chemical reaction looks very familiar to you. So CO2, carbon dioxide, plus H2O, water, goes to, in the presence of sunlight, C6H12O6, that's your simple sugar, glucose, plus 6O2, oxygen. So you need to know it in both the chemical form and in the word form. We're going to start with the light-dependent reaction. This is a reaction that relies on light. If you don't have light, it doesn't happen. So the first thing that's going to happen is that light strikes the chloroplast, and the energy from the sun splits water. The oxygen gets released, great for you because you need to breathe it, And that hydrogen now becomes our bundle of energy. This is all occurring in photosystem 2. So remember I said that they're named in order of discovery, not in order of use. The first photosystem that we're going to encounter is photosystem 2. So light strikes photosystem 2, splits water, oxygen leaves. The hydrogen is now our bundle of energy, just like in cellular respiration. This hydrogen moves to a higher orbit, and then as it falls down, it releases its energy, which gets turned into ATP. When it falls down to photosystem 1. Light strikes photosystem 1, and it goes up to a higher level again. And as it falls down, it now makes NADPH. The ATP and the NADPH are then used in the electron transport chain to make glucose. Again, there is a little video here for you to watch. Photosystem 2, light strikes, water splits, hydrogens get raised to a higher level, you generate ATP, and then you generate NADPH. Light independent reaction used to be called the dark reaction, kind of a misnomer. It happens in the light and the dark, but the key here is that it doesn't need light. It will occur if we have enough ATP and NADPH and we don't have any light. This will still occur. Another name for it's the Calvin cycle, after the guy that discovered it. And the purpose is to take that ATP and that NADPH and create a long-term storage of energy, and that long-term storage is glucose. All cells of the plant are going to do both, light dependent and light independent. The key here is that the light independent reaction will not occur until after the light dependent has. So what is the light independent reaction? Carbon dioxide enters the cycle and uses ATP and NADPH to energize the existing molecules. So it is, if you look here at the picture, a cycle. And so there's a little bit of remnant from the last time this circle went through, and we're gonna add carbon dioxide and energy to this cycle. And in doing so, we're gonna create some glucose that pops off, and the remnants, the stuff we didn't use to make the glucose, continues in the cycle for the next turn. Each turn of the cycle, we have molecules leave to make glucose. The rest of the molecules keep going. We need 2 complete turns in order to make 1 glucose. So light comes into the light independent reaction. The byproduct here is oxygen, and we produce ATP and NADPH that go into the Calvin cycle. Carbon dioxide comes into the Calvin cycle with our 2 energies and produces glucose. Some things are going to affect how efficiently your plant can do photosynthesis. So the first one is water. You need water for the light dependent reaction to occur. And if you don't have water, that stops the process dead in its tracks, and your plant can't do any of this, and your plant will eventually die if you don't give it water. Temperature here, all of this is an enzyme-driven reaction. So the enzymes in ATP synthase, the enzymes in the Calvin cycle, and you guys know from our biochem unit, if you take an enzyme out of its ideal temperature, that enzyme's not going to work anymore. When you go to Lowe's or Green Thumb because you're going to plant some flowers in your backyard, you really do need to pay attention to the climate that you live in. Different plants have evolved to have their enzymes function at different temperatures. So I planted apple trees in my backyard. Some years, these trees are in heaven because we have a really cold winter and I get a lot of apples. But years like this year, where it hasn't been cold at winter, we haven't had those long cold nights, I won't get any apples come spring because we haven't had the right temperatures for the enzymes to really be storing aside sugar in the form of that fruit. Light intensity is important here. We have to have the right wavelength of light. And come fall, in a lot of parts of the country that are north of us, we see the leaves fall off the trees. It's because the plant is saying, you know what, I don't have the right light to do photosynthesis. I'm not going to keep supporting these leaves. And the leaves fall off, until spring when the light intensity comes back. Okay, just like I said with cellular respiration, it's sometimes good to hear from a different voice. Here is another one. We did crash course with cellular respiration. I want to introduce you to Bozeman, Mr. Anderson. Watch this video. Only worry about the depth that is in my lecture. So he's going to go a little more in depth, just like crash course did for cellular respiration, but you only need to worry about the depth that's in my lecture. All right, that is it for lecture. Make sure you take notes. Make sure you really do understand this.